I heard somebody say that nowadays they don't even need a DA, a prosecutor, nothing. Now you can just go online and people are speaking, oh, the prison content. So I come from old school ways, right? Even when you look at videos of kids back in the day in high school, they wouldn't want to be on the camera. Now we live in a culture where people are quick to post. They'll post them beating somebody's ass or committing a crime. I did a video. It's gonna drop tonight about them selling pew pews on Facebook. Police. You know what I'm saying? We live in a
Do
culture
that
and a
all the
day and
time.
age where they post their crimes for everybody to see, right? So I said to say this. I come from a day and age where you just kept your mouth shut. Even my wife, whenever my best friend, he had a baby out of wedlock, the whole hood knows already, right? But when the news hit, my wife's like, "You knew about it?" I said, "Yeah, I kind of knew about it here and there." And she's like, "Well, who's this or who is she and how old?" And I'm like, "I really don't know." My wife's like, "Well, you don't ask these questions." I'm just not a gossip. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, we
Nope.
just keep our mouth shut. It ain't my business, and I don't really talk about it. Even though I'm a podcaster, I make content. I probably could go more viral if I talked about a lot more stuff that I know
Of
about.
course,
But there's
dude.
there's a
The
cap
stuff,
on me.
yes.
So I said to say this, bro. Touch on that, but then again, I want to kind of segue to the prison genre because my dad, I'm going to say right now, I mean, like I said, it's the whole mindset's different, and plus he's probably going back to prison. But when he came out of prison the first time, he had a tattoo on his leg. We knew not to talk about it, what it symbolized. It was a certain gang tattoo. He never really talked about it. It was like taboo to talk about prison gangs, especially if they came out of prison. My cousin came out of prison. He didn't talk about prison. He didn't talk about the gangs. And YouTube all of a sudden just had a bombardment of prison channels. And I was kind of involved at first, bro. And I kind of wanted to make some content. I'm glad I stepped out because they were really messy, bro. A lot of these prison YouTube channels. And I kind of got away from that because to me, that's kind of degenerate content, low hanging fruit. I don't want nothing to do with that low life activity. Even though I do deal with Hector Bravo, he's a prison guard reform, or he does content. And there's some other guys that I have respect for. But I just tripped out when I saw how the prison genre just blew up overnight. People are still doing it. And I just thought it was taboo to hear these organizations being talked about. And now everybody talks about them. Your thoughts on the prison genre?
Man, that's funny because probably about 15 to 20% of my content is geared towards prison. And when I approached that, I approached it a different way. I was watching all of these content creators and I'm like, damn, no one's lost a fight, huh? Everyone's this big badass, kick 'em at you, beat up 50 Crips in prison. You did this, you did that, So I was like, I don't know how real that is. I found a lot of glorification in that. When I came into this,
Yes.
I wanted to tell the people the realness about prison. I've never set foot a day in prison, but I know a lot of people who have, and it ruined their life. It was the worst thing that ever happened to them. That's the side I wanted to talk about. So a few years ago, 4 years, about 4 years ago now, 2021, I started a show called This Ain't It with one of my friends who's unfortunately doing life in prison right now. Every Sunday we do a call. He committed a crime when he was 17, pew pew, and he is now 38, so he's going on 20 years behind bars. And we talk about the rawness, the ugliness, the smells, the losing your friends. I got 50 homies when I'm out on the street, but now 5 years in, not one person's calling me. No one's putting money on my books. My mom is the only one there for me at the end of the day. That is the stuff we talk about. The death. His mother just passed away just last year. The only person that was by his side, him and his sister, the only ones that were by his side was his mom and his sister. Mom's gone. The homies ain't there. That's the stuff I talk about. The show is called This Ain't It, and he's currently serving life in prison, and that's what that's what I promote. I really don't like the glorification of prison because, of course, it's targeting brown folks because we're 80% of the prison population. So I don't like when a 50-year-old guy is still glorifying it because there is a 17, 18-year-old listening on YouTube thinking, oh man, that's really cool. That's really cool. No, dude, it's not cool. There is nothing at all cool about prison. There's nothing at all cool about never possibly having heterosexual sex in your life again. You know what I mean? There's nothing cool about eating off of a tray that roaches and rats have probably run through and was barely washed by some dude who doesn't even like you. There's nothing cool about wearing the same drawers for 6 days because you don't have a wash machine and you can't wash it. And there ain't nothing cool about showering with a bunch of butt naked men. You know what I mean? There's nothing cool about putting peanut butter and beating up a guy in prison and doing all this weird stuff. There's nothing cool about that. So that's the way that I approach the prison genre, and that has set me apart. Will I get those 100,000, 500,000 views that these guys who are talking about fighting 50 Crips in prison are going to get? Nope. And I'm okay with that. Because like I said earlier, I'm not in it for the views. I'm in it for the message, dog, at the end of the day. Yes, the views are great. And yes, the money is nice to have every 21st when it hits that account. But that being said, I am not in it for the views and the money. If I was in it for the money and the views, I'd have been gone a long time ago. But you are so right, dude. I don't know what it is with this generation, but they want to go online and brag about their stuff. When we were younger, generations before us, they didn't even want to take Polaroid pictures, dog. It was like, nah, hell nah. No. They didn't even want to get tattoos where you could see them because that's identifying you. You know what I mean? Now kids are just getting tattoos on their face and they're running to the internet after they pop this dude and they're bragging about it. They're talking about it at length in songs, drill music. They're literally saying, I was on 7th Street, shot that dude in the red shirt, left him dead at 5:43 p.m. Hey, and then they're putting a beat to it. And now they're in prison wondering what the fuck just happened.
Hey, let's go, Dusty Vision TV. Hey, and I'm going to add on to this real quick, bro, before we get off of that topic, bro. My wife even said, thank God they didn't have social media when you were in the street. She tells me, bro, I'll be in the prison for 25 years. You know, no weirdo stuff. I'm just saying we were really, you know, we're doing some stupid stuff. And now the prevalence of social media and cameras being everywhere on every corner, you know, it's crazy. And